Chapter 4, Managing Human Resources. This chapter is going to discuss the manager's responsibilities and functions in the human resources department, policies, procedures, etc. Objectives can be found on page 75 in the book. Flipping the page, 76, Introduction to Hiring Process, Categories of Employees, Job Descriptions. That's very important when you're advertising to list out the job descriptions and qualifications because you do not want, as an employee applying, you don't want to apply to something that you're not qualified for unnecessarily. And as the manager of a medical practice, if you post a position, you don't want 100 applicants who are not qualified for that job to be applying for that job. So include that information in your advertisement. Placing an employment advertisement on page 77. So many ways to do that. Reviewing resumes is discussed on 78. Hiring process starts on 79. As you read this chapter, I hope this information is straightforward. If there is any information that stumps you or tricks you or you're like, wait, what? You're welcome to message me. There are not PowerPoints provided by the publisher for this textbook. You might be able to go to somewhere like Quizlet.com, or I'm not sure. But this information, if it does not come easy to you as you're reading it, let me know. I do try to help with these quick video lectures, if you will. Okay, page 80 reviews interview questions, making the offer, doing the background checks. This does take time, by the way, once you get to this process. And credentialing, making sure someone is as they say they are, whether they have certifications or licensing, such as registered nurses or doctors. That does take time. Page 82 and 83 are an example of a background report. Most of that type of stuff is not on paper any longer. Everything is online. 84, credentialing physicians. I just mentioned that. You have to make sure someone says they are a doctor if they say that. Content of orientation. So whenever you onboard or hire somebody, they have to complete an orientation or else they're not going to know what your specific facility or medical practice requires. Completing the paperwork, W-4s and I-9s are very common documents that we must complete as employment and make sure they're on file as employers. If you're ever audited, that's a a big thing that would get you shut down if you have not taken those steps and completed those steps. An employee manual, page 90. This is for your benefit as an employee. If you're a manager, if you're working for a facility, you and your employees are going to want this. And it's also a benefit for the company or facility to have it on hand too for any type of termination action or just as fallback reinforcement of what is expected. So an employee manual will have several factors, several different policies in them. Organization of a healthcare facility, rather, no matter if they're small or large, you want that in print. You want people to be able to see how to follow the chain of command and who to go to next. Page 92 mentions a mission statement, job descriptions, benefits. Benefits are a really competitive thing these days, I think everywhere, but definitely in healthcare. So as you are creating your benefit package, be sure to consider what you're going to offer because guess what? The healthcare facility 2 blocks down the road or 2 miles or 2 towns over may offer $10,000 in tuition reimbursement every year, and you don't even have that as a benefit option. Same thing with paid time off, PTO. You may be wanting to offer your employees a week off, but your literally next door neighbor that's a healthcare facility gives those employees 4 weeks off per year. So just think about that as you're looking at the benefits, and you always want to remain ADA compliant. We never want to discriminate. And we definitely a hot topic. It's not in this book and it's not on a test or a quiz anywhere, but DE and I is very, very important and very crucial. And if you've never heard that before, I suggest Googling the letters DE and I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is incredibly beneficial to diversify your medical office, your medical facility, because there's so much strength that comes and knowledge and just greatness that comes from being around people and working with people that are not just like you. And I'll leave it at that. Policies and procedures on page 93. You want to include several policies in an employee manual. Very important to have those policies in there to fall back on. Again, for your employees and for you as the hiring manager or office manager. Probation period should be mentioned, reviews and raises. Yes, HIPAA. HIPAA is very important. That is a privacy law I'll let you read about. Termination procedures, I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. All of this needs to be in writing and reviewed in orientation and hiring and talked about. It's not, something you shouldn't talk about. You do need to know, what is the termination procedure? How many warnings do I get? Or, what if I want to leave, and what does that process look like? Management functions start on page 95. Read and review those. And then the summaries on 97. So yeah, please let me know if you do have any questions.